Hello friends and welcome to Time Classes. Today's topic is probability part 2 and the handout that we will be using is QAHO 3532026. Even if you don't have the handout, it's alright. I'll be posting the questions on the screen. But what I would like you to have is a notebook by your side for some quick solving and for you to take down the good quality notes based on what we discuss in today's class. In the first class of probability, we looked at the basic definition of what it is and how to calculate and the range for probability of an event. We also understood the basics of a pack of cards and what kind of cards you have. Then we solved some basic questions and were moving towards a higher difficulty level towards the end of the class. So today we'll finish the remainder of your handout, which has some very good and tricky questions. And so let's begin. Please take 15-20 seconds to solve this question. Probability is number of favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. Question 11 from your handout. Okay, probability of picking a consonant from these letters. So these letters have basically there are 6 letters in the word father. So the number of ways of picking a letter will be 61, that is 6 ways. Now you want to pick up a consonant. Which are the consonants over here? F, T, H and R. You have 4 consonants. So you want to pick one consonant out of these 4. So favorable outcomes are 4, either F or T or H or R. So favorable outcomes is 4 and total outcomes is 6. So the probability becomes 4 divided by 6, that is 2 by 3. That is choice number 2. Okay, so let's proceed to the next question. That's question number 10. Slightly different looking question, but it's very straightforward. Okay, let's look at this. So you are given 2 sets. One is E containing numbers 50 to 59, integers 50 to 59. And you have another set which has integers from 5 to 64. So you are picking one number from the set from 5 to 64. Okay. So when you are going to pick one number, what are the total possible outcomes? You can pick any number from 5 to 64. So these are how many possible outcomes? 64 minus 5 plus 1. That is how much? 64 minus 5, 59 plus 1, 60. So total number of outcomes is going to be 60. Okay. Now, at this stage itself, I know the answer. That the answer should be choice number 3. See, you know that denominator is supposed to be 60. Okay, 60 or one of its factors if the numerator and denominator get a little bit more simplified due to cancellation of factors. So that means your denominator can never possibly be 59 or 61 or 8 because 60 is not divisible by 59 or 61 or 8. So your answer should be choice number 3. So without even calculating anything in this question, I know the answer. And I want you to write this down. What I just said, just write it down. That total number of outcomes is 60. So it cannot be option number 1, 2, or 4. And why? Please write that down. What I just said is that if your denominator is 60 and numerator is, for example, 2, then it will become 2 by 60, that's 1 by 30. Or if your numerator is 5, then 5 by 60 will become 1 by 12. So do you see that denominator eventually always becomes 60 or one of its factors because it will get simplified. So when you keep 8, for example, 8 divided by 60 will reach out to 4. 8 divided by 60 will become 2 by 15. And again, 15 is a factor of 60. So it always becomes a factor of 60. Now, 8 is not a factor of 60. 61 is not a factor of 60. 59 is not a factor of 60. So the answer should be option number 3. And now let's look at this another way. We know that denominator is 30. Now what is numerator? Favorable number of outcomes. Favorable number of outcomes are from 50 to 59. That is 10. You get 10 possible integers. So the answer is going to be 10 divided by 60, and that is 1 by 6. Total elements 60, favorable elements 10, so the answer is 10 by 60. Option number 3. So we just learned another very important technique to solve questions, that you need to keep an eye on what you have to calculate, and very often you might not have to go all the way. It gets solved even before you have to solve the complete question. Okay, so let's go to the next question, question 14. Okay, let's solve. Now you want to select 3 fruits out of 10. So total number of outcomes will become 10C3. And you want 2 spoiled fruits out of the 3. So you will select 2 fruits, 2 spoiled fruits out of 4 options, and you will select 1 good fruit out of the other 6 options. I'll just repeat this. Out of 10 fruits, you have 6 good fruits and 4 spoiled fruits. And the question says that we want to select 2 spoiled fruits and 1 good fruit. So that can be done. Select 1 good fruit in 6C1 ways and select 2 spoiled fruits in 4C2 ways. So 4C2 into 6C1 becomes your number of favorable outcomes, and the total number of outcomes becomes 10C3, and you simplify this to get the answer as 3 by 10. I hope this is making sense. 10 fruits, 6 good, 4 spoiled, and you want to select 1 good and 2 spoiled. So 6C1 into 4C2. And total you want to select any 3 fruits from 10 fruits, so that's 10C3. Favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes gives you the answer. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question number 18. Question difficulty is now increasing. So let's look at this question. Basically, for the room to be lighted, you need at least 1 bulb working, because the question does not tell you that for room to be lighted, both bulbs need to be working. So just 1 bulb working is fine. So if you want to select 2 bulbs, what are the options that you have? First option, both are working. Second option, 1 works, 1 does not work. First one works, second does not work. Then first does not work, second works, and last one, both don't work. These are your 4 options. Has to be one of these. Both working, both not working, first works, second does not work, first does not work, second works. What is the probability that the room is lighted? So can I write this as 1 minus, what is the probability that the room is lighted, will be 1 minus probability that both are defective. I need to find out these 3 cases and add the probabilities. Either this case will happen, or this case will happen, or this case will happen. Okay. And what you can do is you can write it as total minus both are defective. So 1 minus both selected bulbs are defective. Okay. So we want to find out what is the probability that both bulbs are defective. So let's select total number of outcomes will be from 6, you select any 2, that's 6C2. And if you want both to be defective, then it will be, here you go. Both will be defective means there are only 2 defective bulbs, you pick both of them. Favorable outcomes divided by total outcomes. So this is what I just discussed. Probability that at least 1 bulb is good is equal to 1 minus probability that all bulbs are defective. That's 1 minus select both the defective bulbs divided by total outcome 6C2 is equal to 1 minus 1 by 15. That is 14 by 15. That's your answer. Option number 4. Please write all of this down. We've done similar questions before where whatever we needed to find, we calculated it as 1 minus something else because it was just shorter. See over here, if we work in the normal way, then you will have to calculate 3 things. Probability that both bulbs are good or not defective. Then you would have to find probability that one is defective, other is not. Then probability that other is good and the first one is spoiled. So 3 things you have to calculate. Whereas over here, the way we have solved, you have to calculate only one thing. That is probability that all bulbs are defective. Okay, so yeah, of course you can do it by the other way also. You'll get the same answer. You can try it also, but time, it's all about time, to save time in the exam. Okay, let's move. Question number 19. Carefully solve this. First calculate total number of outcomes, then go for favorable number of outcomes. Okay, sufficient. So first, let's look at the solution and proceed. So you have a 3-digit number. These are the 3 digits, this dash, dash, and dash. Okay. And you have a total of 5 digits, 0, 1, 3, 5, 7. So see, always you have to know this it's very important. You can write this in your copies. Attack restriction first. Always you attack wherever there is a restriction. Now, where is there a restriction over here? The restriction is in the first place because first place 0 cannot occur. So the first place can be filled in 4 ways, any of the remaining 4 digits, but not 0. Okay, so now 1 digit is used up, 3 digits left and the 0. So a total of 4 digits are now available. So the second place can be filled in 4 ways, and the third place can be filled now in 3 ways. So the total number of possibilities becomes 4 into 4 into 3, that is 48. 48 ways. Okay, the number of possible 3-digit numbers are 48. Now we need to see how many of these 48 are divisible by 5. Okay, so for 5 divisible by 5, what should be the last digit of the number? Last digit of the number can be 0 or it can be 5. So let's see. Number of 3-digit numbers divisible by 5 that can be formed using these digits without repetition and ending with 0. Okay, so now you have these 5 digits, and let's say that the third digit is 0. So it's divisible by 5. So you have 4 digits left now. So 4 digits left. So one of the other digits spaces can be filled in 4 ways. And so the last space can be filled in 3 ways. So out of these 48, you will have a total of 12 numbers that end with 0. And now if you have the third digit ending with 5. So if the third digit is ending with 5, then you have 4 digits remaining. I'm sorry, if the third space or the third place, that's the units place, is ending with 5, then you have 4 digits remaining. Attack restriction first. So in the first place, the hundredths place, 0 cannot come. So this can be filled in not 4 but 3 ways, because 0 cannot be used. And then out of these 3 numbers, one number will be used up. So 2 digits left, and then 0 is also there. So 3 digits left. So this place can be filled in 3 ways. So the number of 3-digit numbers out of 48 that ends with 5 is 3 into 3, 9 numbers. You can write all of this down. So let's look at this again. I had 5 digits. I found the number of 3-digit numbers as 48. Now I found out the number of numbers ending with 5. So if they end in 5, then you have 4 digits left, but 0, I'm sorry, the number of numbers ending with 0. So you have 4 digits left. So pick any of the places, the tens place or the hundreds place. So the tens place can be filled in 4 ways, and therefore hundreds place in 3 ways. So you get 12 numbers ending with 0. Then if the 3-digit number ends with 5, then you get 4 digits remaining. So this place can be filled in 3 ways, because 0 cannot come, and the last remaining place can be filled in 3 ways because you had 3 digits remaining. So you get a total of 12 plus 9, 21 numbers that are divisible by 5. So your answer should be 21 divided by 48, and that is 7 divided by 16 is your answer. Choice number 3. Okay, let's move to the next question, question number 20. Okay, so number of ways for this children to sit will be 9 factorial, because you have 9 people sitting in a row. Okay, and you want the boys and girls to sit alternately. So obviously it's going to be boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, right? That's the only way that they are going to be sitting alternatively. Of course, the order can vary, but what I'm saying is that first position, it should be a boy, second position girl, third position boy, fourth position girl, and so on. Okay, and the boys in their respective positions of 1, 3, 5, 7, 9th position can be arranged among themselves. So that is 5 factorial, and you will still be maintaining this alternate order of boys and girls. And the girls can also be arranged among themselves, 4 girls in 4 factorial ways. So that becomes the favorable number of outcomes. So 5 factorial into 4 factorial divided by 9 factorial is your answer. You simplify it, you get it as 1 by 126. Is choice number 4. Okay, let's proceed to the next question. Okay, if 5 boys are to be seated in a row, the probability that 2 particular boys always sit together. Question 23. Okay. So 5 boys to be seated in a row. So the total number of ways will be 5 factorial ways. Okay. Now you want 2 boys to sit together. So I consider the 2 boys as one unit. So total now I have 3 boys and this one unit. So total 4 units. So these 4 units can be arranged in 4 factorial ways. And in that one unit, I am keeping the boys together. But these 2 boys in that one unit can interchange their positions. So they can be arranged among themselves in 2 factorials. Okay, we've discussed something like this in PNC. So whenever you want to keep things together, you make one unit out of them. Treat them as one unit. So now you get a total of 4 units. And you are like these 3 units and this one unit. Okay. So now wherever these go, this one unit could be here or here or here. These two are always together. And within themselves, they can interchange their positions. That's how you get 4 factorial into 2 factorial. So the total ways becomes 4 factorial into 2 factorial divided by 5 factorial. And that is 2 by 5. 2 by 5 is the answer. Okay, now let's look at Venn diagrams a little bit because some questions related to Venn diagrams or set theory will be coming. So consider there are 2 circles, or you can say a person studies 2 subjects, subject A and subject B. And now you want to find out what is the probability that, or let's look at it this way, that these are just 2 subjects, subject A and subject B, and some children are studying these subjects. Okay. So now look at the arrow carefully. This arrow, what is this area? This area is only A. Those people studying only subject A. Now what is this common area? Those people studying both subjects A and B. And what is this whole area? Those people studying only subject B. Okay, please write this in your copy. What are these respective areas? You can make an arrow over here that this region represents only A. This is both A and B, and this is only B. We need to understand some results over here. Now, you have to find out, okay, so what is this? This is basically A or B. A or B will consist of only A plus only B plus both A and B. And you can also write this as total A, children studying subject A plus children studying subject B. And what has happened? This portion has repeated. Studying subject A, so this portion has been covered once, and studying subject B, so this portion has been covered again. So from A plus B, I subtract both A and B to get A or B. And In terms of the questions that will be given to you, this is how it is written. This A or B is written as union. A or B is written as union. So number of students studying A or B, A union B will be number of students studying subject A plus number of students studying subject B minus number of students studying both. Now, OR is written as union and is written as inverse U. It is called as intersection. A and B, number of students studying both A and B. So it's called intersection, A intersection B. It's just a notation. Okay. Now, let's say that these events are mutually exclusive. What mutually exclusive means is that there is no common area, that these two events are exclusive. There is no inclusive part between them. They are all both exclusive. And so that will mean that A intersection B is 0. That is, there is no common part between them. If in a question you are given something like this, that A and B are both mutually exclusive, then this is what it implies, that the NN A intersection B is 0. Please write all of this down. Okay. Now, there's also something called complement of A. So complement of A can be written as A bar. You make a bar on top of it. So complement of A is A bar, and that is equal to total minus NA. So in the Venn diagram, the complement of A will be everything outside A. That is total minus A. So everything outside A. So you can write this in your copy, that complement of A is everything outside A. Complement of A is everything outside A. And now if we were to write in terms of probability, then basically probability of A union B or A or B will be probability of A plus probability of B minus probability of A intersection B. And the complement of A will, probability of A complement will become 1 minus probability of A. Please write this down. So let us begin. Okay. Now this is not connected to what we just discussed. It's a general problem on probability. Take 30 seconds. Similar to the bulb room being lighted with the two bulbs question. Okay. What is the probability that the problem is being solved? Okay, so what all can take place? A solves it and B solves it. A solves it but B does not solve. A does not solve but B solves, and A does not solve, B does not solve. These are the total options. A solves and B solves. A solves but B does not solve. A does not solve but B solves, and A does not solve, B does not solve. So probability that the problem is being solved is going to be any of these three cases. Okay, and what did we remove? Neither A solved it nor B solved it. So you can find it as total 1 minus neither A solves it nor B solves it. So that turns out to be, what is the probability that A does not solve the problem? That is 5 by 6. If he solves it, the probability is 1 by 6. So he does not solve it, probability becomes 5 by 6 or 1 minus 1 by 6. Probability that B solves it is 1 by 4. So B does not solve it becomes 3 by 4. Now, when the problem is solved by at least one of the students, then the problem will be solved. So I can find this as 1 minus A does not solve it, B does not solve it, or probability A complement, probability B complement. The complement sign is a little incorrect. It's shifted. It should be on top of A and B. So you get 1 minus 5 by 6 into 3 by 4. That is 3 by 8. And that is your answer. Okay, now let's go for additional 3, and this is the usage of the formula that we discussed. You are given P of A, P of B, P of A intersection B. Find P of A union B. Quickly use the formula. Add the fractions. You have 15 seconds. Five more seconds. Okay, let's look at this. So you will use the formula P of A plus P of B minus P of A intersection B. 1 by 5 plus 1 by 8 minus 1 by 10. Solve the fraction. Denominator becomes LCM, that is 40. So you get 8 plus 5 minus 4, and that is 13 minus 4, 9. 9 by 40 will be your answer. Okay, let's move to the next question. Question number 24. 15 seconds. Okay, again you use the formula P of A union B is P of A plus P of B minus P of A intersection B. So you get 2 by 3 is equal to 1 by 4 plus 3 by 5 minus P of A intersection B. Solve and put in the values, simplify, you get the answer as option number 3, that is 11 by 60. Okay, again, easy, straightforward question. Now let's look at this. Okay, the events are mutually exclusive and you are given probability of complement of A union B. Find probability of complement of B. See, you don't need any fancy rules and properties, etc., that you may have covered in school. Whatever I have told is sufficient to solve this question. So take 30 seconds to solve. Let's solve. Let's see what do we have. So first you are given probability of A union B complement is 7 by 20. So probability of A union B you can calculate as 1 minus 7 by 20, that is 13 by 20. You have A union B now, and P of A plus P of B will be equal to A union B. But where is P of A intersection B? P of A intersection B is 0 because they are mutually exclusive events. You can write this in your copy. P of A intersection B is 0 because they are mutually exclusive events, so there is no common area. So P of A plus P of B is 13 by 20 and P of A is 1 by 20. So you get P of B as 3 by 5. Okay, let's check the calculation once. 1 by 20 plus P of B is 13 by 20. So P of B becomes 12 by 20, that is 3 by 5. So P of B complement will become 1 minus 3 by 5, that is 2 by 5. So your answer is option number 2. Your answer is option number 2, that is 2 by 5. So like I said, you needed to know nothing extra for this question. Whatever was told was sufficient. Okay, let's move. We are just finishing up the topic now. So P of B complement becomes 1 minus P of B, that is 2 by 5. Okay, additional 4. Probability that either of the events E1 and E2 occurs is 0.6. Probability that both occur is 0.2. Find P of E1 complement plus P1 of E2 complement. Okay, let's begin. Now, probability that either of the events E1 and E2 occurs means probability of E1 or E2. And we already saw what is probability of E1 or E2. That is A union B or E1 union E2. So you are given probability of E1 union E2 is 0.6. And you are given probability that they both happen, that is E1 intersection E2 is 0.2. So now we know the formula. We know that E1 union E2 is equal to probability of E1 plus probability of E2 minus E1 intersection E2. So we get the value of probability of E1 plus probability of E2 as 0.6 plus 0.2, that is 0.8. Please write till here. Now, you want complement of E1 and complement of E2. So let's obtain those. E1 can be written as 1 minus complement of E1. And P of E2 can be written as 1 minus complement of E2. So you get 1 minus P of E1 plus 1 minus P of E2, which is equal to 2 minus P of E1 plus P of E2. So that is 2 minus 0.8, that is 1.2 is your answer. Option number 2 is your answer. Just 5 more minutes. Right, finishing this topic. Okay. Additional one. Take 30 seconds. Okay. So you are given probability of P winning is twice of Q and probability of Q winning is twice of R. And we know that sum of the probabilities will be 1. That is, someone among P, Q and R has to win. So it's a certain event. So you get that equal to 1. Okay. Now we can convert everything in terms of P of Q. So you can write P of P as 2 times P of Q. You can write P of P as 2 times P of Q. That's over here. Plus P of Q. Plus you get P of R as half of P of Q. So half of P of Q. And you add all of them. You get the value of P of Q as 2 by 7. Now it is possible that if you are in a hurry, you see 2 by 7. You see it in the options. You mark it and you proceed. But the question says find the probability of Q losing the contest. So it's asking for Q complement, and that would be 1 minus 2 by 7, and that is 5 by 7 is your answer. Okay, you have the relations given to you. You know that sum of probabilities is 1. Write them all in terms of one variable. You get P of Q, find its complement. Last topic for today. It's called odds for and against. For those of you familiar with cricket, you will know how odds are put in. The odds for something happening, the odds against something happening. So if I say that the odds for or the odds of raining today are 2:3, what does that mean? If it's a weather forecast, that the odds of raining today are 2:3. This means that probability that it will rain is 2 divided by 2 plus 3. And probability that it will not rain is 3 divided by 2 plus 3. Please write this down. Now, if I say that the odds against classes resuming soon is 3:7. What this means is that the probability that classes won't resume, because it says odds against, classes won't resume is 3 by 10 or 3 by 3 plus 7. And the probability that the classes will resume is 7 by 10. So you have to pay attention to the word, whether it is for or of or against. Which odds are given to you? So we begin the last question for today, that is additional 5. Okay, see, we are always comfortable in writing the positive item because then we know that the reverse counts for the negative item. So let's see. The odds against an event A are 7 to 4. So you are basically given P of A complement as 7 by 11. And you are given, therefore, P of A becomes 4 by 11. And the odds in favor of another event B are 3 to 7. So P of B is 3 by 10. Oh, in fact, it's exactly the example that I had taken. But this is in favor of. So P of B becomes 3 by 10 and P of B complement is 7 by 10. See, for this particular question, ये जो solution लिखा है, exact इसको copy करिए into your notebooks. Write it down exactly, no skipping of anything. Write it exactly like this. So you get P of A as 4 by 11, P of B as 3 by 10. Okay, now we want exactly one event to occur. That means A will occur, B will not occur, and B will occur, A will not occur. And these are dependent events because one of them has to happen. Both can't happen together. A happens, B does not happen, and next B happens, A does not happen. Okay, so P of A, P of B complement plus P of B, P of A complement. So you get P of A. What have they? What is this? P of A 7 by 11. Okay. So what has happened is that these items have been written over here, and these items have been written over here. Okay. So what is P of A? 4 by 11. P of B complement 7 by 10. This is P of B complement. And what is P of B? 3 by 10. And what is P of A complement? 7 by 11. And then you add them up. So you get the denominator as 110 and numerator as 21 plus 28, and that is 49. So you get 49 divided by 110. So this was the concept on odds for and against. We have discussed a variety of items in this particular topic. And today's class has been, the new things have been Venn diagrams and odds for and against. The others have been more different kinds of probability questions. If there is any way in which this class could have been a better experience for you, then you can please send your suggestions or add it into the chat option. If there have been any queries, please also put that into the chat option and we will get back to you shortly. So I thank you for your time and attention today and hope to see you all soon.